Hi viewers, we're VAP's assistants. We're here to warn you that this episode of VAP Talks Comics contains a few jokes that are even more perverted than usual. Normally we wouldn't even care to mention this, but VAP's been getting a lot more viewers as of late. Yeah, and we don't want to be responsible for anyone having a massive shock-induced heart attack over some of the things VAP says about Little Lotta.
Personally, I think all of VAP's videos are too perverted. She is a danger to herself and others.
Nobody asked you, guy who thinks he's Oscar Wilde. Let's get to the show already, guys.
Hi, VAP-Chan here with another episode of VAP Talks Comics. The title's changed, but the way everything works remains the same. I pick a random issue of a comic, and I talk about it.
VAP, this is the third episode. I think the viewers get the point of the show. What do you guys think of my voice, by the way?
Today's comic is... Little Lotta, issue 4 from May 1956. Little Lotta is one of many, many Harvey Comics characters. You probably know their more famous ones like Casper the Friendly Ghost, Richie Rich, Hot Stuff, and Wendy the Good Little Witch. But Lotta's kind of forgotten today.
VAP, she was in that Netflix Harvey Street Kids cartoon. She was even one of the main characters.
Yeah, but the original comics are way better, as everyone will soon see. The cover art's a great image of Little Lotta, a massively fat girl dragging a wheelbarrow full of food to a picnic. If you're aware of the kind of stuff I draw, you already know why this character appeals to me. The girl behind her is Little Dot. That's right, normies who accidentally found my channel. Little Dot isn't just a Simpsons joke.
Oh my god! Lotta's got the same disease as the Baron from Dune! Run, Dot! Run for your life!
Holly, I'm pretty sure those are just weirdly drawn freckles.
I know, I just wanted to try to say something so disgusting the normies who find this video won't stay around to hear you talk about Lotta's huge cartoon lolly ass later.
Inside covers an advert, as usual. One for 100 little plastic airplanes for $1.25. Kind of a rare case of not using false advertising here, as they actually show a photo of what you'd be getting and its actual size. The first story, a single pager, opens on Little Lotta and her equally fat mom at dinner. "Oh, am I full? I haven't got room for another bite," says Lotta.
Yeah, that's so hot.
Lotta.
VAP, no, you're gonna get us kicked off of YouTube!
But her mom tells her they're having ice cream for dessert. Lotta makes a hilarious shocked face and goes outside to take a massive dump over the porch railing to make room. Nah, not really. She actually jumped off the porch in order to pack her food down? Even by cartoon logic, I don't really get it. The next page is an ad for bike tires featuring an incredibly well-drawn bulldog. I've got to commend them for not just ripping off the bulldog from the Preston Blair book like everyone else does. The first long-form story of the issue is Ham Bake, in which Lotta's nerdy midget boyfriend, Gerald, takes her to his father's company picnic. Boyfriend is kind of in quotes there, as, while Lotta clearly has the hots for Gerald, in nearly every panel after this first one, Gerald is sweating in terror from being around her. You see, Lotta isn't just the fat one of the Harvey Comics gang. She's also got fucking super strength. Look at her dragging Gerald down the street by his arm at the thought of getting free food, and things are going to get even worse for Gerald as Lotta forces him to be her partner in the three-legged race. Lotta again drags the poor little dork around, this time with him tied to her massive leg. She then forces him to take part in the tug-of-war, where Lotta ends up backing into him, crushing him in between a tree and her fat cartoon lolly ass. Next up is the horseshoe competition. Can you guess how this will go horribly wrong for Gerald? Well, can you, viewers? Yep, Lotta ends up throwing them directly at his head and neck.
Good thing they weren't playing lawn darts.
Lotta then enters the watermelon eating contest, tossing the rinds over her shoulder like how Friar Tuck from Rocket Robin Hood eats. Gerald, of course, ends up covered in melon rinds and Lotta's saliva. Lotta then tries to make Gerald climb up a greased pole. Jeez, that sounds perverted. But the little dork finally shows some self-preservation instinct and takes Lotta home, where Lotta's father tells him he's invited to his company picnic tomorrow. With everything Gerald went through in this story, how bad is the next picnic going to be? Is Lotta going to force him to join the chainsaw juggling contest? Or how about a cinder block eating contest? Or live grenade baseball? Next page is a filler comic about a negligent babysitter. Babysitter babysitters were thought to be gut-burstingly hilarious in the 50s for some reason. At least it ends on an ass joke. And another filler comic, Jerry the Jinx. This one's pretty clever with the titular Jerry using a squirt gun as an airbrush to paint his bike. One question though, why is he called Jerry the Jinx? Who is he bringing bad luck to? They do kinda set it up so it looks like he's about to shoot his dad with his paint gun, but
I'm pretty sure they just wanted an alliterative name.
yeah. The second story of the issue is Ballet Who? After seeing a ballet performance, Little Lotta and Little Dot, see, I told you normies she was a real character and not just a Simpsons joke, decide to learn ballet themselves. This is, of course, a common plot in media aimed at little girls, but this goes off in a hilarious direction, as you'll soon see. As Lotta and Dot go off to ballet class, Lotta helpfully informs us that her mother was happy she wanted to take ballet as it'll help her lose weight. This would make a lot more sense if Lotta's mom wasn't just as fat as she is. At the bar, the ballet bar, this story isn't going to devolve into Lotta drinking heavily for several pages. At the bar, Lotta's leg gets stuck out at a 90-degree angle. The artist actually manages to make it look sort of painful despite the really cartoony art style. Her instructor tries to push the leg back into position, but can't, even when she's literally on top of it. Hey, whoa, the instructor's not wearing underwear in this panel. How'd that get past the Comics Code Authority?
Because it's just a coloring error and not an intentional part of the artwork.
I know, jeez. The instructor sends Lotta home with her legs stuck in the air and tells her to call him Monsieur.
That's a male masseuse, viewers.
But on the way home, Lotta gets fucking hit by a car. Of course, her super strength means that it just causes her to spin around for a while, making it look like she's pirouetting. But that won't stop millions of teenagers from claiming that little Lotta is cursed now. A little Mortimer Snurd-looking douchebag tries to troll Lotta over her predicament, and immediately gets the living shit beaten out of him. Lotta arrives home and immediately yells at her mother to call the Monsieur. The Monsieur gets Lotta flat on her back, and tries to pull her leg back into position, but only succeeds in levering her whole upper body. I think I've found a flaw in my comic choice here. I can't really describe what's going on without ruining the joke's timing, and I can't make fun of it because it's genuinely really funny and well done.
Too late to turn back now, Vappy.
The Monsieur kinda looks like if Arthur Collins and Fred Flintstone got in a teleporter accident. That's a funny observation, right? The Monsieur fails to fix Lotta and ends up breaking his own spine and ass. But Little Dot and Lotta's fat mom have an idea. Lotta's mom calls her in for dinner, and instantly Lotta rushes into the kitchen, her leg completely cured. Although, I don't know why the Monsieur is allowed to eat with them, seeing as he failed to do his job. The next page is an ad for Red Goose shoes, featuring a contest to name the Red Goose's baby, with the grand prize being a trip to any city in America. If they ran this contest today, the winning name would probably be Goosey McGooseface. Next page is Harvey Comics News, the hype page for upcoming issues. The Dick Tracy and Joe Palooka issues here might make for interesting reviews. Speaking of Dick Tracy, have I ever told you about my ex-friend
Oh god, she's not.
He hated Dick Tracy for being too violent, but would constantly beg me to draw Minky Momo getting tortured in Cronenberg-esque ways that were 1,000,000 times worse than any of the villain deaths in Dick Tracy. He also had this weird thing about cartoons and animes showing the Earth being destroyed, and would continually ask me, "In Go Lion, why they have to make the Earth go boom?" I swear to God, that's how he would always word it.
The guy who thinks he's Oscar Wilde sure is gonna hate this one.
Wow, more ads. The top one is an ad for ads, in which Joe Palooka reminds readers that Harvey Comics have ads in them. Does Joe think the readers are complete friggin' morons? And the bottom ad is for a pamphlet on how to start a stamp collection. This was when stamp collectors did it as an educational pursuit and not as a hoarding Elvis stamps will eventually allow me to get rich thing. Even more ads. The top ad is for Scripto pencils and pen, with Al Morrison as the spokesman. Al's apparently a cartoon gag writer, but I can't find much information on him other than that he wrote for Little Sport. The bottom ad is for a bike speedometer. I'm pretty sure this exact model is still being made. Finally, back to the actual comic. The third story of the issue is Father's Little Helper. The title's, of course, a parody on the term Mother's Little Helper, as in doing a bunch of drugs so you won't have to deal with your annoying kids. Lotta's father is expecting Mr. Ambrose from the Ajax Company to come by to place a big big order from Lotta's father's company. They never say what Lotta's father's company actually makes, at least in this issue, but since it's 1956, I like to think it's nuclear weapons. Lotta's father tells her to watch out for salesmen and keep them away so they won't disturb him, while not actually giving her any advice on how to keep them away. It's almost like he wants her to fail so he can use it as an opportunity to be more and more controlling in the future.
Vap, I think you're getting Lotta's dad confused with your dad.
Hey, he's gotten a lot better since the exorcism. Outside, Lotta sees a man who looks eerily similar to Captain Kangaroo and thinks he's a salesman, so she fakes having a stomachache, although it looks a lot more like a massive heart attack, to guilt the old man into taking her home. Lotta then informs us that the man wasted 45 minutes getting her home. 45 minutes to walk 4 blocks. Were they wearing cement shoes or something? Lotta cuts back around to waste even more of his time, and the man is Mr. Ambrose, okay? I'm sure all of you out there have already predicted the ending of this one. I'm sure even the kids of 1956 knew how this was going to end. Lotta thanks Ambrose for taking her home. Ambrose doesn't seem to care that she's recovered from a heart attack-looking stomachache after only 45 minutes for some reason, and Lotta takes him to get an ice cream soda, which she immediately spills all over him. Lotta forces Ambrose into a phone booth and starts ripping his clothes off. and starts... God damn. I can't hear that line and not laugh because it sounds so perverted, but the way they draw it in the comic looks kind of perverted as well. Into a phone booth. It's... God damn it! It's...
Vap, are you okay?
Yeah, it starts ripping his clothes off. She then abandons the hapless, pantsless old man in the booth, intending for him to be trapped inside for hours. But some bald asshole who's wearing Peter Griffin's outfit threatens to assault Ambrose, who flees down the street in his underwear. Gonna linger on this a little longer as a special present for all the fat old man wearing sock garters fetishists watching this. Ambrose runs into Lotta's father's office and tells him about everything that's happened when Lotta walks in. Ambrose turns out to be okay with all of it, though, as he thinks it shows that Lotta's father's company is thorough, when really, all it shows is that Lotta's father is incompetent, an asshole, or both. He should have shown Lotta a photo of Mr. Ambrose, or even just described him to her, and then none of this would have happened. Also, Ambrose is probably going to get arrested for indecent exposure. You know how in every VAP Talks comics so far, I've mentioned the Unreadable short story page old comics had? Well, here's an actual example of one, finally. As you'll recall in the previous episodes, the text-only pages were taken up by a column about wigs and the letters page, respectively. But now you can finally see what I mean about the Unreadable short stories. This one's about a tadpole getting his tail bitten off by a shark, and his mother's okay with it because it taught him a lesson.
Ribbit, suffering builds character. Ribbit, I'm glad my son is deformed now.
At least the bottom part of the page is taken up by an ad for Little Dot, featuring her nameless uncle. Wow, a second Unreadable short story. This one's about a bunch of moronic animals trying to help an elephant who's lost his memory. The bottom of the page is taken up by an ad for a wild root cream oil. Kind of an odd thing to advertise in a kid's comic. I don't think many 8-year-olds buy hair tonic, even in 1956. The final story of the issue is Richie Rich in To Ski or Not to Ski. This is when Richie was still a backup feature for Little Lotta and Little Dot. He wasn't spun off into his own comic until 1960. The story begins with Richie taking his poorer friends to the beach to water ski with his new motorboat, but they're accosted by Richie's rival, Reggie Van Doe, who begs Richie to let him ski first. Those of you who have seen the Hanna-Barbera cartoon will immediately notice Hanna-Barbera really de-uglified Reggie. Richie rebuffs Reggie. Hey, why'd the creator give them such similar names? And Reggie plans his revenge, attaching a piece of driftwood to a toy submarine to fake a shark attack. I know what you're all hoping to see, but unfortunately this doesn't end with a real shark showing up and biting his head off. Reggie then screws with Richie and friends some more by tying their motorboat to a dock as it takes off. Then, lots more slapsticky stuff that loses all its humor when actually described happens, as Richie lets Reggie pilot the motorboat. I know, too late to turn back now. But Richie and his friends get their revenge once it's Reggie's turn to ski, as they torture him by going too fast and narrowly dodging buoys, piers, and other boats. By the end, Reggie looks like he's going to puke puke all over the place. You can induce the same reaction in your own enemies by showing them that live-action Richie Rich movie. The next page has an ad for sneakers with logos of baseball teams on the ankles, and an ad for a set of stamps from British colonies. As I mentioned earlier, this was back when collecting stamps was a mostly educational pursuit, and here's an ad for the Disneyland Color Television, which actually appears to be a variant on those. I don't think this type of toy has a name, but the thing where you put a roll of paper in a little box with a crank on each end, and you scroll through it. So yeah, blatantly false advertising. And check out that really crappily drawn Mickey.
And the line, Disneyland and his friends. What moron wrote this?
On the inside back cover is an ad for a scam. How it works is, you buy a set of 24 religious wall motto plaques from The Fun Man on credit, and you have 15 days to sell all of them before you have to pay. If you sell enough plaques, you win prizes. But notice how they don't say how many you have to sell to get each prize. And notice that the ad doesn't actually show the plaques. Kinda makes me think they're incredibly tacky to the point that no one would buy them, so the Fun Man decided to just load them off on children as part of a get-rich-quick scam.
Oh, Vap, guess what I found?
That lawn dart Nobuko threw earlier?
No. I found a weird variant on the religious wall motto plaques ad.
Boys, girls, men, women, the world is on fire. Serve the Lord and you can have these prizes. So Fun Man's gone from just bribing kids into going along with his scam to implying their souls are in the balance. That's really something, thanks Holly. Hey, I wonder where that lawn dart landed anyhow. Wouldn't you like to know? Finally, on the back cover, an advert for Baby Ruth, in which a lazy teenager uses her younger brother as slave labor by bribing him with the aforementioned candy. Dextrose. Well, overall, a pretty good comic. The art's well done and very cartoony, as Harvey comics usually are. Lotta's kinda hot, in spite of Holly claiming that she looks like Baron Harkonnen.
Sorry.
And the Ballet Who story was particularly good. Comedy comics, though, are kind of hard to review because, as I said earlier, it's hard to describe a funny drawing without deflating all of its comedic potential. Well, that's our show. See you next.
Hey, Vap, the Red Goose ad from earlier. They didn't mention any end date for the contest. That means we might still have a chance to win.
Nah, Red Goose shoes went defunct in the 80s, but that doesn't mean I can't take you all on vacation.
Let Maureen actually speak in this episode and it's a deal.
Okay, anything you'd like to say, Maureen?
I sure do, Vappy. How about in the next episode, we talk about a horror comic?
Sure. Now come on, guys. VAP-Chan and friends are going to visit the world's second largest ball of barbed wire.